Okay, when a liquid or substance is placed into a vessel, it forms a concave surface. This is called the meniscus. The reason why this forms is because molecules in the liquid attach themselves to the inside of the vessel that they're in. In order to read the meniscus, you need to bring yourself down to eye level with your beaker or whatever vessel you're using and look to see the bottom of the concave surface of the meniscus. And this is where you take your measurement, from the bottom of the concave of the meniscus. That's it. You ready? Okay. In order to properly transfer fluid or liquid from one vessel to another, place the tip of your pipette in the solution, squeeze your bowl, place it over the top of the pipette to draw the fluid into the pipette. When you're done drawing fluid in, quickly remove the bowl and place your index finger over the top. Now, you need to read the initial volume by using the bottom of the meniscus on the side of your pipette scale. In this particular instance, it is 423.38. You need to record this as your initial volume in milliliters. Now, you need to put, in order to transfer the fluid, you need to put your pipette, you need to take your receiving vessel and tilt it slightly and put your pipette tip on the edge of the glass of your receiving vessel and release your index finger. When you've achieved the fluid transfer that you desired, you need to place your index finger back over the top of the pipette and read your volume again. This is your volume, your final volume. In this instance, it is 7.88. In order to get the total fluid transferred, you need to subtract your initial volume from your final volume. In this instance, it is 3.50 milliliters. Okay, anytime you use a balance or an analytical balance of any type, you want to make sure it is tared to 0 before you take any measurements. This one has been tared to -91, for example, so I'm going to hit the tare button to make sure it tears to 0. Like so. Now, you want to take a measurement of your beaker as it's empty and clean. This way you can subtract that from your total weight when you add the solution to it later. This allows for more accuracy collection of data when you get your solution in the beaker. This particular beaker is 91.59, so you want to record that in grams, 91.59. Now, you want to remove the beaker and place your solution in the beaker. And then replace the beaker, close the door, let it stabilize, and record that weight. Now you would subtract the weight of the beaker from that weight, and that would be your actual weight of solution in the beaker. Okay. Now the balances themselves have a slight margin of error. Changes in air currents and stuff inside the balance can cause variations in the solution. Even as these balances are so sensitive, even if you're leaning on the countertop, this can cause a margin of error variance in your calculations. Also, you want to make sure that you're using the same balance to minimize the error between balances. You know, errors from the same balance will be consistent and keep your data consistent when you're taking measurements. Okay.
In order to transfer a liquid with pipette properly, we put the pipette into the solution we're going to transfer vertically, and then use the pipette ball to draw the liquid up.
This time I'll try with 18.
And put your index finger on the top of the pipette, then get the pipette out of the liquid draw it, bring it to eye level, and then read the volume. This is, in this case, this is the initial volume, and in this case, it's 3.24. And then you tilt the receiving vessel like this, and then you hold the pipette vertically and release your index finger and let the liquid go down. And then when you're finished, you bring the pipette back to eye level and read the final volume out. In this case, it's 6.34, and this is the correct way to use the pipette. And you use the final volume minus the initial volume, and you will get the volume transferred.
We use the pipette in order to transfer liquids between different vessels. In order to use the pipette properly, we just hold it vertically and put our index finger on top of the pipette with another hand of ours. We get the pipette bulb and grip it and replace it with our finger. Let the pipette enter the liquid. Slowly release the grip.
That's all measured.
Then replace. Now we bring the pipette into our eye level and start reading the volume.
Because there's various
Here we've got 6.12.
Hopefully that's right.
Now in our receiving vessel, we slant the vessel, still holding the pipette vertically, and we remove our finger, let the liquid enter the receiving vessel. And again, we bring it into our level, our eye level, and read. This volume is going to be our final volume.
Probably never again.
Here we've got 7.89,
There's too much glare on the screen. Take a picture.
which is going to be our final volume. And the difference between initial volume and final volume will give us the volume of liquid that's being transferred. We use the analytical balance in order to measure different masses of different liquids or solids. In order to use the balance, first we have to make sure that our balance is level and zero. And then we start measuring the mass of our vessel. We gently open the door and then we put our empty vessel in and close the door. Then we're going to wait until the numbers stabilize on the screen, and then we will read the number, which is 140.740. This mass is actually our initial mass. Then we gently open the door, remove the empty vessel, close the door, and in our 100 milliliter cylinder we transfer some liquid of desirable volume here. Now we get down and start reading the meniscus in our cylinder. I'd say we've got 49.9, which is going to be our volume. Then we're going to have to transfer all the liquid into our receiving vessel, which is the same beaker. Again, make sure that our balance is zero. Then open the door and put the beaker inside and close. And read the number. 189.318. This mass is actually our final mass. By subtracting the final mass from the initial mass, we will get the mass that's being transferred.
In order to get the mass of the volume we are going to transfer, first of all, we should make sure the balance is level and zeroed. Then we gently open the door, put the empty beaker inside the balance, and make sure all the doors are closed. Wait until the balance is stable, and then read out the mass of the empty beaker. In this case, it is our initial mass. It's 140.747. And then we open the door and get the empty beaker out and close the door. And first we should get the volume of the liquid we are going to transfer. So we can pour some of the liquid into the cylinder and put the cylinder on a balanced table, and then dip down and make sure the meniscus is equal to the eye level, and then read the volume out. In this case, it's 49.1 milliliters, and then we write this down, 49.1. Okay, and then we transfer the liquid from the cylinder into the empty beaker. We just wait. And then we gently open we make sure that the balance is zero, and we gently open the door of the balance, put the beaker inside the balance, and then close the door and wait until the balance is stable. And in this case, it's 189.389. So this should be our final mass, 189.388. And this it will be our final mass. And in order to get the mass transferred, we use the final mass to minus the initial mass, and we can get the mass of the liquid transferred.